Good morning, I'm Jake Bapps, the archivist at the Gene Lloyd Cooper Archives, here located in the Greer Museum on the Rio Grande campus. I've traveled many places giving talks and attending conventions, and anywhere I've gone there's been one constant question. I've been in Washington, D.C., and I had a question on this. I've been in Honolulu, Hawaii, I got this question. Did you know Bevo Francis? And I was always happy to say, as a matter of fact, I did. When you talk about sports at Rio Grande, the conversation always starts with Bevo Francis. Bevo Francis was an unbelievable story. It is an unbelievable story and will continue to be an unbelievable story. A young man, 18 years old, came from Byesville, Ohio in 1952, married with a child, not graduated from high school yet, was taking college classes at the same time, and was the star of a basketball team in 1952-53 that went 39-0. That's right, 39 games without a loss. Under the tutelage of Coach Newt Oliver, the Francis team achieved heights that no one thought a high school or college team could do. But in one game, Bevo scored 116 points, the all-time record up to that point. But all those records were taken away because Rio Grande had played so many junior colleges that the bigger schools would not recognize the record. So they set out to change people's minds. In 1953-54, the second game of the season was played in Madison Square Garden. Rio Grande would go on to play many teams such as North Carolina State, Wake Forest, Boston College. They did not win 39 games that year, but Bevo once again broke the scoring record of 113, the record that stood for many years. So Bevo Francis, when you go anywhere, if people hear the name Rio Grande, they automatically will ask you, did you know about Bevo Francis? But Rio Grande sports are much more than that. The first sport played at Rio Grande, believe it or not, that the record of was croquet. There was a croquet place in front. There was a croquet yard set up in front of Atwood Hall where students would go out between classes and play croquet in the yard before 1900. The first organized sport at Rio Grande was baseball. The Rio Grande Baseball Association had over 75 people as members when it was formed. Baseball was played by both sexes, male and female. It was a popular sport, just as it was in the United States at that time as the sport in 1900 to 1910. In 1914, Rio Grande fielded its first football team. Yes, Rio Grande had football from 1914 to 1949. While it wasn't really a powerhouse, many years they didn't have winning records, it was a popular draw, and Rio Grande basically between 1914 and 1940 was known as a football school. One of the notable coaches that came to Rio Grande that you will recognize the name of is Paul Line. Paul Line came to Rio Grande to coach in 1924. He coached from 1924 to 1929. And then he came back and coached from 1932 to 1937. Line Center, of course, is named after Paul Line. Paul Line would also serve as president of the college. So Rio Grande was a football. A side note to Rio Grande football. They were defeated one time by Moorhead 104-0. Let that soak in. Rio Grande got beat 104-0. The newspaper articles talked about what a great fight Rio Grande had put up. Rio Grande, as I said, was not a football powerhouse. Matter of fact, between the years 1938 and 1942, they had a record of 0-30-1. No wins, 30 losses, 1 tie. In 1944, football was canceled at Rio Grande for the year because the enrollment had dropped to 33. There simply weren't enough men to field a football team. It returned in 1945, but finally in 1949, on Thanksgiving Day, Rio Grande absorbed its last loss in football, and then in 1950, the Board of Trustees canceled football altogether. But we are undefeated since 1950 when it comes to football. Basketball has been Rio Grande's main sport for many, many years. Several years ago, Rio Grande made an appearance in the Final Four of the NAI as far as any basketball team has advanced. Well, our soccer team has won 2 national championships, men's soccer. We've had many, too many to count almost, cross-country All-Americans, track All-Americans, field All-Americans. So track has been a valuable sport and a very productive sport at Rio Grande. Matter of fact, Coach Bob Willey is the longest serving coach at Rio Grande in Rio Grande history. We've had women's sports dating all the way back to 1912. It's something many schools can't claim. There's a picture of the 1912 girls basketball team, comprised of high school and college students. where they play local high schools. And through the 20s, women's sports were very big, even to the point where the women played soccer in the 1920s at Rio Grande against mainly themselves and also some local high schools. So that sport grew. We've had new sports added in the last few years. We have a rugby team, which in its very first year went undefeated up to the end. We have sports for men, for women. We've added swimming again, trying to add swimming. We had a swimming team in the 70s. So Rio Grande has encompassed the sports world. It's been a very sports-oriented school. In 146 years of existence, sports has been a mainstay at Rio Grande. The college, the university, community college, and in the lives of all of us.